I don't know why your face came to mind before I even knew your name. Maybe that sounds strange. Maybe it sounds like a man reaching for meaning because silence has become too familiar. But there are moments when the heart recognizes something before life gives it permission to touch it. And tonight, I'm not speaking to the world. I'm not speaking to a crowd. I'm speaking to you, the woman who may be watching this with a quiet ache in her chest, who's pretending it doesn't matter, pretending those words are only words. But if this is you watching, then maybe I was right. Maybe the empty space beside me was not just empty. Maybe it was waiting. I didn't know I would miss the sound of someone breathing beside me. I am sitting here in a room that looks calm from the outside, an older man with enough silence around him to hear every small movement of his own hands. The light is low. The night has settled against the windows. There is a cup of coffee near me that went cold before I remembered to drink it. I almost didn't say this. I almost kept it inside where I have kept too many things for too many years because I know how it may sound. Too soft, too late, too exposed. Like a man who should have learned how to live without needing anyone, finally admitting that living without needing anyone has made him tired. But I need to speak to you gently because what I'm about to say is not casual to me. It is not a line. It is not performance. It is the kind of truth a man says only when the room has become too quiet to keep lying. For a long time, I told myself I was fine alone. I made solitude sound noble. I gave it clean words. Discipline, peace, independence, strength. I turned the absence of someone beside me into something respectable, something almost admirable. I told myself that a cold pillow was not sadness, it was space. I told myself that coffee for one was not loneliness, it was simplicity. I told myself that a room made for two, lived in by one, was not a wound, it was freedom. But freedom can become a beautiful name for emptiness. There are nights when the bed feels wider than it should. Not dramatically, not in some tragic way that anyone would notice. Just quietly, the blanket falls on one side and stays untouched. The air near my shoulder stays cold. I turn, and there is no warmth waiting. There, no small movement, no soft breath, no accidental closeness that says, without words, you are not alone here. And I think that is what broke something in me. Not heartbreak the way people imagine it, not a loud ending, not a slammed door, not a letter left on a table. It was smaller than that. It was waking up and realizing that no one knew how I slept. No one knew whether I turned toward the window. No one knew that sometimes I reached across the mattress before I was fully awake, as if some part of me still believed there should be a hand there. I used to pull it back quickly, as if even my own body had embarrassed me, as it no tenderness could become a hunger. I thought desire was something younger men carried without shame. I thought wanting closeness was some life slowly trained out of you. I thought age would make me less vulnerable, less foolish, less willing to ache for someone I had not even held. I was wrong. Time did not remove the need. It only taught it to whisper. And now I hear it everywhere. In the quiet after the phone stops glowing. In the pause after someone says nothing. In the way shadows move across the wall when there is no one sitting beside me to notice them too. In the morning when I make coffee and this second cup exists only in my imagination. In the doorway when I come home and no one turns their head because they felt me enter. That kind of absence has weight. You don't see it at first. You carry it like air. Then one day it becomes heavy enough to bend you, and you, if you are listening the way I imagine you might be listening, maybe you know that weight too. Maybe you have become good at being strong because no one stayed long enough to make softness safe. Maybe you have learned to sleep on one side of the bed, not because you like the space, but because part of you stopped believing anyone would fill it with care. Maybe you have laughed during the day and gone quiet at night, touching your own hands together, just to remember that warmth still exists. I don't want to pretend anymore that this does not matter. The truth is, I miss what I have not yet had with you. That sentence frightens me. Because how can a man miss a woman he has not touched? How can a room feel incomplete because of someone who has not walked through the door? How can a heart choose a presence? For life has made a promise. I don't know. But I know the feeling. It comes quietly the way morning enters before you are ready. It sits beside me when I try to be ordinary moments. It follows me into, I see an empty chair, and I think of you sitting there, not as a fantasy, not as someone perfect, not as an escape from reality, but as a possibility so tender it almost hurts to look at. If you were here, I don't think I would know what to say at first. That is the part I'm ashamed to admit. I have had conversations with rooms full of people. I have stood under lights. I have answered questions. I have carried myself like a man who understands control. But if you were here, truly here, close enough that I could hear you breathe, I think I might go quiet. Because I would have nothing to say. Because the wanting would be too honest. I would notice small things. The way your sleeve rests against your wrist, the way your fingers hold a cup, the way your eyes move when you are deciding whether to trust the room. I would want to sit close, but not too quickly. I would want to reach, but not claim. I would want you to feel safe before you ever felt desired. And maybe that is what scares me most. I do not want love as an idea anymore. I do not want the clean, distant version people talk about when they are trying not to bleed. I want the real thing, the quiet thing, the inconvenient thing, the kind of closeness that changes the temperature of a room. I want someone to know when I am tired without making me explain it. I want someone to stay long enough that silence stops like punishment. I want to fall asleep without feeling like I am disappearing. There. That is the buried desire I did not want to admit. I don't want to fall asleep alone anymore. Not every night. Not forever. Not with this cold space beside me, pretending to be peace. I want warmth near my shoulder. I want the soft evidence of another life close to mine. I want the kind of presence that does not demand performance from me. I want to be seen when I am not impressive, when I am not composed, when I am just a man in the dark trying to remember how to let someone near. And I am terrified that saying this gives you the power to turn away. Maybe that is why I kept calling it independence. Because wanting someone makes rejection possible. And rejection at this age does not feel like a bruise. It feels like confirmation of every fear I tried to outgrow. Still, I am saying it. Because something in me has grown tired of surviving untouched. I wonder what it would be like to share one morning with you. Nothing grand. No perfect music. No cinematic sunlight pretending life is easy. Just a table, 2 cups, the quiet clink of a spoon. Your hand near mine, close enough that our fingertips almost meet, and neither of us pulls away too fast. I wonder if warmth could return that simply. I wonder if the side of the bed that stayed cold for so long would know what to do with you. I wonder if all this time I was not empty, broken. Maybe I was empty because something in me was still waiting. I didn't know absence could have a shape until it began sitting across from me like someone who had every right to be there. Tonight, I am not beneath a storm, not in a room filled with memories that make sense to anyone else. I'm just here, older than the boy who once believed he could outrun needing, quieter than the man who used to answer longing with work, and more honest than I expected to be. Almost way because admitting this makes me feel exposed in a way success never prepared me for. You, the woman I keep addressing, need to understand this is hard because it matters deeply. I used to think loneliness was a mood, something that passed with sleep, but now I know it can become furniture. It waits in the chair no one uses. It lives in the untouched plate, the extra space on the couch, the blanket that never warms another pair of knees. I move around it daily, pretending not to see how carefully my life has arranged itself around nobody coming home. There are ordinary moments that hurt more than great losses because they do not announce themselves. I will stand in the kitchen and hear the refrigerator hum, and for a second, the sound feels too loud because there is no other breath in the room to soften it. I will look at the window after sunset and see my reflection there, not sad exactly, just unfinished. I will pour coffee and stop before the second cup, as if my hand remembers a future my life has not given me. The strange thing is that I spent years calling this control. I thought being untouched made me stronger. I thought needing less meant I had become wiser. But maybe I was only becoming harder to reach, even to myself. Maybe a man can build walls so carefully that one day he wakes inside them and calls the echo peace. And you, if you are the woman these words are reaching, maybe you know this too. Maybe you have made a life out of not asking to be held. Maybe you learned to keep your longing quiet so no one could accuse you of wanting too much. Maybe you have sat with silence long enough to know that the body remembers every tenderness it was denied. I want to say something that feels too bare to survive being spoken. I have missed touch, not in a restless way, not in a careless way, but in the sacred human way that comes from having no hand to return to at the end of the day. I miss the imagined weight of someone leaning against me when the world has been too heavy. I miss the possibility of a shoulder close enough that I do not have to explain why I am quiet. I miss being allowed to soften without feeling watched. For so long, I believed desire would make me foolish. I believe if I admitted I wanted a woman near me, truly near me, I would lose some private dignity I had fought to protect. But there is no dignity in freezing while pretending the cold is chosen. There is no strength in refusing warmth because you are afraid it may leave. Somewhere in this silence, I realized that intimacy is not humiliation. It is trust with a pulse. It is the trembling decision to let another person become real enough to hurt you and still hope they choose not to. If you were here, I think I would notice the quiet before anything else. Not an awkward quiet, not the kind that asks to be filled, but the kind that settles over two people becoming less afraid. I would not rush to touch you because some hearts have been approached too quickly before, and I would never want my hunger to feel like pressure against your skin. I would let the space between us speak first. I would let your breathing find the room. I would want you to know that being wanted by me would not mean being trapped, claimed, or hurried. It would mean being approached with reverence, with patience, with care a man learns after mishandling his heart. And still, beneath all that patience, I have to admit the truth. I want to hold someone I am afraid to lose. I want to trust someone enough to close my eyes beside her. I want to place my hand near hers and not wonder whether tenderness is about to become another goodbye. That is where my walls begin to fail. Not because I am weak, but because I am tired of confusing protection with exile. The thought of you has made absence sharper, but warmer, as if the possibility of being seen can light a small fire in a room that forgot heat. I do not imagine you as perfect. I do not need perfect. Perfect has no breath, no hesitation, no human ache. I imagine you real, carrying your own guarded places, tired of being strong, in rooms where no one noticed what strength cost you. I imagine us not solving everything, not becoming fearless, not turning pain into a pretty story, but sitting near enough that the silence changes meaning. Maybe your hand would rest on the table, and mine would be close, and neither of us would have to turn that moment into a promise. Maybe the miracle would be smaller than words. Warmth, near warmth, two tired people not pulling away. I do not know if life allows this. I do not know if you are ready to believe a man could want you gently. I only know that the space beside me has stopped feeling empty in the same way. Because now, when I look at it, I wonder whether it has been shaped like an invitation. Maybe I was not only missing someone, maybe I was beginning to miss you. I didn't know hope could return so quietly, almost like it was ashamed to be seen. It did not arrive with certainty, or with music, or with any brave declaration I could hide behind. It came while I was folding a shirt in a room too, still for one man, while the evening light touched the floor and made the empty space beside me look less like punishment and more like a place someone might one day stand. I am here again, not stronger than before, only more tired of pretending I do not want what I want. I almost laughed at myself for thinking of you, because desire at this age can feel like walking back into a room where you were once wounded. But you, the woman I keep speaking to as if my heart already recognizes your outline, make the truth difficult to bury. What I am saying is hard because it asks me to stop surviving behind distance and admit that I still want to be reached. For years, I treated my own softness like a dangerous thing. I kept it behind careful sentences, behind quiet manners, behind the kind of restraint people mistake for peace. I would come home, remove my shoes, place my keys in the same small bowl, and let the room receive me without joy or question. Nothing was wrong, and that was the cruelty of it. The walls were steady, the bed was made, the cup was clean, the day was over, yet some part of me kept waiting for a voice to ask how heavy the world had been. I did not know how much I needed that simple question until no one asked it for so long that my answer disappeared inside me. Maybe that is what tenderness does. It gives your pain a door. It says you do not have to carry every ache as proof that you are capable. And when I imagine you here, not fixing me, not rescuing me, just looking at me with eyes that do not rush away, I feel something in my chest loosen with fear. That fear is not small. It has history. It knows every goodbye that came softly before it became final. It knows the humiliation of reaching and finding air. It knows how the heart can open like a hand and close again around nothing. So when I think of wanting you, I do not feel only warmth. I feel the old instinct to step back, to become polite, to call my longing imagination before it becomes need. But then the night comes, and honesty returns with it. The cold side of the bed does not accept its excuses. The quiet hallway does not applaud my self-control. The untouched chair does not admire my restraint. All those empty places keep asking the same question in different forms. What if loneliness was not your destiny? only your defense. I have begun to wonder if the very thing I feared most, being known by someone, might also be the thing that lets me breathe without armor. If you were here, I would not ask you to heal what life broke. I would only hope your presence gave me permission to stop hiding the parts that still tremble. Somewhere in the middle of this confession, I have to admit the buried desire I kept beneath all the disciplined language. I want to be held by someone who does not make me feel weak for needing it. I want to rest my forehead near a woman's shoulder and not perform bravery. I want to feel fingers move lightly over my hand, not as a promise, not as possession, but as proof that the body can still believe in safety. I want to sit beside you when the world grows dim and feel the temperature of the room change because you are breathing near me. This wanting frightens me because it is not abstract anymore. It has your shape, your quiet possibility, your imagineerness at the edge of everything. I have refused to say, and maybe that is why hope feels dangerous. It does not ask whether I am ready. It simply appears in the place where numbness used to live and waits to see if I will push it away again. I do not want to push it away. Not tonight. Not when these words have already crossed the distance I was using to protect myself. I imagine a small evening with you, not perfect, not polished, just honest enough to hurt. Maybe we are sitting on a porch while the air cools and neither of us knows whether to speak first. Maybe your sleeve brushes my arm and the contact is so slight that anyone else would miss it. I would feel it like a language returning after years of silence. Maybe I would want to take your hand and still hesitate, because wanting to be gentle with you would matter more than satisfying the ache in me. I would wonder if you felt it too, the quiet shock of being seen without being asked, to become less guarded immediately. I would wonder if two scarred people could sit close without turning fear into a wall. I would wonder if warmth, once trusted slowly, could teach the heart to stay open. I do not know whether you felt it through the screen, but I felt myself becoming less absent, as if saying your unseen name somewhere inside me brought warmth back to a place I had stopped asking anyone to enter again. I am not asking you to be certain. I am not certain either. But something in me has stopped calling this foolish. Something in me has begun to believe that maybe longing is not the wound. Maybe it is the part of us still alive enough to reach. And maybe, if this is you still listening, my heart was right to keep a little space warm for you. I didn't know acceptance could feel like standing in the doorway of my own heart, afraid to enter, yet unable to keep living outside it. I am here now as a man who has spent too many nights looking composed while the room around him slowly taught him how much warmth was missing. I almost softened these words, almost made them safer, because the truth still frightens me when it carries your shadow. But you, the woman I have been speaking to through all this quiet, deserve the unprotected version. What I am about to say is hard because it no longer lets me hide behind loneliness and call it maturity. I have wanted you in the gentlest way a man can want someone he has not touched, not to own you, not to escape into you, but to know what it would feel like if your presence made the cold places in my life, remember, they were never meant to stay cold. There was a time when I thought healing meant needing nothing. I imagined peace as a clean room, a steady routine, a morning where no one could disturb me and no one could leave. But peace built only from distance becomes another kind of prison. The bed stays neat because no one turns in it with you. The kitchen stays quiet because no one laughs too early in the morning. The chair remains exactly where it was because no one pulls it closer. Even the air learns restraint. I used to move through that kind of order and feel proud of how little I asked from life. Now I understand that I was not healed. I was carefully untouched. I had survived so well that I had forgotten survival is not the same as being loved. And if you are listening, maybe you know that difference too. Maybe you have also mistaken calm for safety, but because chaos once wore the face of affection. Maybe you stopped asking for warmth because the last person who offered it made you cold afterward. I do not want to be another cold thing in your life. That thought matters to me more than my own longing. If I came to you, I would want my presence to feel like a lamp left on in a house you were afraid to enter. I would want you to feel no demand in my desire, no pressure in my tenderness, no hidden bargain inside my attention. I know what it means to be tired of proving you are worth staying for. I know what it means to keep your hand still because reaching once taught you shame. That is why, even in wanting you, I feel careful. I am not rushing towards you with certainty. I am coming slowly, almost painfully slowly, because Some doors should only open when both hearts are breathing freely. Still, I cannot deny the buried desire anymore. I want to choose you with my whole tired heart, and I want you to choose the possibility of being seen without punishing yourself for needing it. There is hope in that desire, but it trembles. It does not stand like a promise carved in stone. It sits beside me like a small flame between shaking hands. I imagine a morning where you are not a dream at the edge of my loneliness, but a real woman moving gently through the same room. Maybe there is toast left too long, coffee cooling between us, sunlight falling across the table without trying to make anything perfect. Maybe you are quiet because trust is still learning its way back into your body. Maybe I am quiet because I am overwhelmed by the simple fact that you stayed. Our hands might rest near each other, not touching at first, and the space between them might feel like flow, the most honest conversation we have ever had. I would not claim that moment. I would not name it too quickly. I would only sit there grateful and afraid, wondering how something so small could feel like life returning. I would notice the smallest proof of you. The cup turned slightly toward your hand, the quiet mark your presence leaves on a room, the soft change in silence when it is shared instead of endured. I used to think love had to arrive loudly to be believed, but I think the holiest kind may arrive almost unnoticed, like warmth, nothing under a door. It asks for nothing except honesty. It says, sit closer if you can, stay if you mean it, breathe here without pretending you are not tired. That is the kind of closeness I want, the kind that does not erase our scars, but stops making them lonely. And maybe, for onces, would have to apologize for needing a place to rest without fear tonight. And maybe this is where I stop pretending that wanting you is a mistake. Maybe the ache was not here to humiliate me. Maybe it was here to show me that I am still capable of giving my heart, even after years of teaching it to stay folded. I accept that I want closeness. I accept that I want warmth beside me. I accept that I want the sound of your breathing in the same room, the soft accident of your shoulder near mine, the permission to be a man instead of a fortress. I do not ask you to run toward me without fear. I would never ask for a courage I am still learning myself. But if these words found the hidden place in you that still believes in tenderness, then maybe we are both less alone than we thought. If this felt like home, stay close. Subscribe, share, or leave what your heart never got to say. Maybe the space beside me was waiting not for perfection, but for the woman brave enough to be seen, and the man finally brave enough to want her.